Thanks for joining our Champions for Vibrant Health Leadership Network information session today. We haven't had a chance to meet before. My name is Sara Omari. I'm the Strategy Program Administrator with the IEHP Foundation. And I also have my colleagues Deanna and Randy on the call with me today to help support with answering the questions you have for this call for applications. So a lot to cover today. And so I wanted to just do a quick overview of what we will be discussing today. So pretty quickly, I'll be going over IEHP Foundation, our mission, vision, values, and strategies, going over the call for applications for the Champions for Vibrant Health Leadership Network, inclusive of timeline, goals, expectation, eligibility requirements, and evaluation. Also be touching on the grant management portal, how to access and navigate. And then with any remaining time, we'll also have an opportunity to answer questions live. So again, we'll be going over this information pretty quickly, but a recording of this webinar will be available on our website within 3 business days. We'll also make sure to email you a copy after the webinar with a link to the recording along with a copy of this presentation and any questions answered during the call. Going over a little bit of logistics for the information session. As you have questions, we really encourage you to type them into the Zoom Q&A feature. As I shared, I have my colleagues Randy and Deanna on the call with me, and we'll be doing our very best to answer those questions. So they may be typing a response, and then with any time remaining, I'll go over them live on this call. If you do have any additional questions or a more personal and nuanced question, really do encourage you to email grants@iehpfoundation.org and allow up to 3 business days for a response. So real quick recap about who IEHP Foundation is. So you may have heard of IEHP, the local managed healthcare plan in the region, serving about 1 in 3 members across Riverside and San Bernardino counties. So in 2021, through an endowment, the IEHP Foundation was formed. So we are a separate entity from IEHP, but we are working hand in hand as sister organizations to advance vibrant health in the Inland Empire. So IEHP Foundation, we are that independent 501c3, focusing on ensuring that all individuals have access to vibrant health. And I'll cover that in some slides coming up. Focusing on the community and addressing the social determinants of health. So while IEHP supports the community and the clinic, IEHP Foundation will really focusing on the community and CBOs addressing health. So real quick, advancing vibrant health, that's our mission. Our mission is to inspire and ignite the health of the Inland Empire. And for us, vibrant health means that residents across both counties have access and are experiencing a better, more fulfilling life, both physically, mentally, and socially. So our goal is to advance health equity across the region through partnership. We realize we can't do this alone. You're going to hear partnership as a common theme throughout this presentation. And we advance vibrant health through addressing root causes, core needs to improve that health equity across the region. One of the ways we organize our information is through the Vital Conditions Framework. So this is a framework that organizes the social determinants of health. It's a newer framework that's been adopted by over 40 federal organizations, and there's also strong regional efforts to align on this framework. So within the Vital Conditions Framework, there's 7 vital conditions to show how all interplay and intersect to advance health in different communities. And within the grant summary, there's a link to learn more information about the Vital Conditions Framework. We've adopted the framework as a whole. I'll talk more in detail for the specific opportunity. We are prioritizing specific vital conditions within the framework. So that's how we organize our work. What we focus on, our community impact strategies, are focused around 4 main areas. One is public policy and advocacy, realizing that it's important to address systemic issues that may be preventing health equity in the region. So we have a strong focus on making sure that our voices are heard to ensure that we have the right resources getting here into the Inland Empire, realizing that we are a very under-resourced region. We also have a heavy focus on regional capacity building. So we've had several smaller grants go out to help support organizations with capacity building and infrastructure development. We also do direct community investment, giving funds directly out into the community. And there are some special projects and place-based projects that we do have. So you may have heard recently We've invested significantly into Riverside County with the Blue Zones Project Initiative, and we'll be looking to explore a similar option in San Bernardino County. So definitely stay tuned for that. And then also wanted to lift this up. If any of you are interested in a space to host a retreat or a meeting for your organization, we do have a meeting space here on our campus in Rancho Cucamonga that IE nonprofits can use free of charge. So the QR code here is on the screen, but you can also visit our website and request that meeting space free of charge with advance notice. And so you've heard me say partnership is key to IEHP Foundation. And so we realize that the vital community partners are important in collaborating and engaging. So any of those community partners that we do engage with, whether it's through our trainings, our grants, events, funded, non-funded, we consider those partners to be what we're calling our champions for vibrant health. So if you're here on this call, you're already invited into our network as champions for vibrant health. But in particular, this opportunity that we're lifting up is what we're referring to as the leadership network within the Champions for Vibrant Health. So in the next few slides, I'll talk through specifically this opportunity, but do know that if you've been funded by IEHP Foundation in the past, you look to join our events, or you are focusing on lifting up the health of the Inland Empire, we do consider you a champion for vibrant health. So quickly, as a high-level recap, the summary of what the Champions for Vibrant Health Leadership Network focuses on. It's a 2-year leadership development program with general operating funds to support Inland Empire community-based organizations or nonprofits that address the social determinants of health. And we really want to make sure that this opportunity is more than a grant. It's an opportunity to join together, create our network to amplify our voices and expand resources to build vibrant health across the Inland Empire. So in the next few slides, I'll go over how this opportunity came to be and how it aligns with the community needs we've observed, the goal and expectations of the opportunity, eligibility requirements, key dates and deadlines, and also the application process as an overview. So alignment with community need. Community is at the center of our work. We're always looking to make sure that we're aligning what the community wants and needs. So we hosted about 10 listening sessions with over 100 different executive leaders at various community-based organizations across the 2-county region. And we also did some data digging to review the nonprofit landscape as a whole. And the following 4 needs kept bubbling up to the surface. One was the need for flexible multi-year funding that supports infrastructure and capacity building. So that flexible funding that's not tied to a specific project or program. We realize the need to run the business as a whole. The importance of investing in nonprofit leadership that extends beyond a webinar or a one-day event. So that long-term leadership development. There was a really strong call for succession planning and developing the next generation of leaders. And the need for collective advocacy and a positive narrative building for the region continued to surface. And so you'll see throughout as we explain this grant or this funding opportunity, how we attempted to address all 4 community needs that we kept seeing throughout the region. So some of the goals and key measures of success for this opportunity is increased organizational capacity, increased collective advocacy, expanded private and public funding to the region, and expanded health equity. So in short, our goal with this opportunity is to build the bench of nonprofit leadership and trusted messengers in the community and strengthen our region's advocacy muscle. So we're really looking to build capacity at multiple levels. So we're looking to build the capacity of the individual leaders selected to participate at the organizational level, at the community level, and also at the systems or advocacy level at the whole. So really making sure our narrative is lifted up at the state level. So expectations of engagement, you may have seen some of this information in the grant summary, but we're looking to have each organization lift up and identify an executive and an emerging leader to engage in all activities proposed over the course of 2 years. So that this opportunity would start in January of 2025 and continue to December of 2026. So a 2-year commitment. What we're defining as an executive leader for this opportunity is preferably the highest level staff member at the organization. So this is typically your executive director, president, or COO, but it could also be another key senior executive leader such as the COO, vice president, director. For the emerging leader, we are asking that it's a mid-level staff member at the organization who demonstrates the potential to emerge into an executive leader for your organization or in the region as a whole. So both leaders have a commitment to serving the Inland Empire. So this could typically be a vice president, director, or manager role. One of the questions that got lifted up during our last info session is, do these leaders have to be staff members or could they be board members? So I do just want to emphasize that these leaders, we are looking for staff. So it would have to be a staff member in order to be eligible. And then what those leaders are committing to is 6 annual gatherings every year. 4 would be in-person local half to full day convenings. And what we mean by local is here in the Inland Empire, most likely in our Rancho Cucamonga headquarters. 1 in-person advocacy trip to Sacramento, so about 2 days and 1 night. 1 in-person leadership retreat, about a 3-day, 2-night, and completing 2 biannual progress reports. So again, this is each and every year. We do have a commitment to learning. So I know a lot of the questions are, what are the specific dates of those activities? Is it the same date for both leaders? And I'm here to let you know that we have centered learning with our community partners. And so while we have an idea of what this leadership opportunity will look like, well, we're also going to be building to make sure that we're responsive to the needs of those selected organizations and leaders. So one of the first meetings that we'll have together is identifying for the particular collective what they're looking in a leadership program. So the 6 events that we talked about is more to help with the time commitment at large, but specific dates and details will be developed as we go along and learn together. And for this opportunity, we're looking to select up to 40 organizations to take part in this leadership network and develop that peer-to-peer bond. So going through, in addition to that leadership development, we're also providing flexible funding to those organizations that are selected to participate in this opportunity. So the flexible funding is a 2-year general operating support grant. And so the funding that the organization would receive is based off your operating budget size. For the first tier, organizations with an annual operating budget less than $1 million, but above that $250,000 threshold that we have, the grant award amount would be up to $25,000 per year or $50,000 over the course of 2 years. And for organizations with an annual operating budget over $1 million, that grant award amount would be up to $75 per year or $150,000 in total over 2 years. And we would be dispersing these funds in 2 equal payments in December of 2024 and again in December of 2025. And so in total, IEHP Foundation for this specific opportunity is looking to award approximately $2 million to the community. And this is in funding. So those trips that I mentioned, the leadership retreat, as well as the advocacy trip, those we would also fund as well. So this is specifically for flexible funding for the organization to use how they see fit to build their organizational capacity or infrastructure. So key dates and deadlines to keep in mind. So the selection process will involve a 2-part application. We've released the first part. So that call for applications was released back on June 13th. Round 1 applications, and I put LOI there just because that's what our system refers to it as in the grants management portal, but we realize this is an application. So round 1 applications are due July 5th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Invitations to the final round of applications will be in late August, no later than August 31st. The final round application will be due October 4th at 5 p.m. And if there's a need for interview or site visits, we would reach out to the organization and look to complete those October 7th through November 15th, with the awards announced no later than December 2nd. So again, I just want to lift up and call out that due to limitations in our grants management portal, you may see LOI appear within the grants management portal. Just know that for us, for this opportunity, that is a round 1 application. So eligibility requirements. So before being able to access the round 1 application, applicants, once they log into the portal, will need to complete a quick eligibility quiz to ensure that their organization meets the eligibility requirements. So this is a short 5, maybe 10-minute quiz in total, but it's really meant not to add another layer to the application, but to make sure that this opportunity is a fit for your organization before someone from your team spends time on the application in full. As I go over these eligibility requirements, I do just want to lift up that this information session is to learn how your organization may qualify, but also it's okay as you hear these eligibility requirements and think this opportunity may not apply for my organization. It is a medium-term commitment. So we're looking for organizations that this fits your mission and your strategic plan over the next 2 years. And it's okay if you don't meet this opportunity. The foundation will have more opportunities in the future with different eligibility requirements. This is just one opportunity that we have. So really want to encourage as you're going through the grant application to make sure that technical difficulty on my end, to make sure that this is a fit for your organization as a whole. So again, I'm not trying to fit a square into a circle. So going over the 6 eligibility requirements, the first is that the organization would have to be a public 501c3 nonprofit. And all of these eligibility requirements, I'll be going through in more detail in the next slides. So there'll be a 501c3 nonprofit, have been in operation officially for 3 years or more, have an annual operating budget of at least $250,000, meets the leadership engagement requirement, serves families with children 18 years and younger, and also has a 2024 Candid GuideStar seal of transparency that is gold or platinum. So public 501c3 nonprofit. So those organizations that are eligible must have their own EIN or tax ID number. For this particular opportunity, they cannot be fiscally sponsored. Organizations must also be in good standing with the IRS and not delinquent on any tax filings. They cannot be a private non-operating foundation, and we are not funding 501c4 organizations for this opportunity. The organizations do have to be a 501c3, so unfortunately for this, if it's a public entity that does not have a 501c3 status, they would not be eligible to apply. And then we're looking for organizations that have been officially recognized for 3 or more years. So really want to make sure that the organizations that are selected for this program have a really strong root in community and are rooted in being trusted messengers for the communities that they serve. So what we mean by this, officially recognized, means that the organization has been given tax exempt status as a nonprofit by either the state or federal government for that 3 years or more mark. For those organizations that may have been fiscally sponsored in the past and now have their own EIN, you could be considered eligible for this opportunity. So if that applies to you where you were fiscally sponsored and you maybe just got your EIN last year or the year before, email the grants email with that explanation, and I'll respond back in that 1 to 3 business days to let you know if your organization is eligible. So annual operating budget is probably a good bulk of where we get our questions. So what we mean by annual operating budget for this opportunity is that the organization's annual operating budget for the 2024 year must be greater than $250,000. And so if your organization is operating on a calendar year, use projected budget for that January through December 2024 timeframe. If your organization operates on a fiscal year, use the projected budget for July through June, July 2024 through June 2025. And if your organization is on a different fiscal year than those listed, just make sure that it's the fiscal year that has December 2024 accounted for. Annual operating budget includes all anticipated revenue and expenses for the organization. Do not count assets, so dividends or building towards this budget size unless you're actively using the revenue from that asset in 2024. And you do have to have the $250,000 floor or minimum budget. But if for whatever reason it had been a big increase since years prior, we strongly recommend that when it comes to the narrative section on the application that you explain that. As the evaluator is reading your application, we really want to make sure that they have the full story about your organization. There's nuanced experiences for all organizations, and we recognize that. So just making sure that you lift up that voice. The other question that we've come across is if you are an organization that receives in-kind support from a sister organization or a partner. So this could be in the form that they pay for your staff or payroll, things like that. 20% of that in-kind support can be counted towards the operating budget. So if you do have questions on that, please reach out to the grants email. And then the leadership engagement, we did touch upon it a little bit earlier, but again, each organization must identify an executive and emerging leader who can commit to serving their organization over the next 2 years. Each leader must have served that organization for no less than a year. Part-time employment or volunteering counts towards that time commitment. And we will give consideration to those leaders who have been at the organization less than a year, but have served the Inland Empire for 2 years or more. So realizing that staff may shift around, we're really looking for leaders that are committed to serve this region. So if that applies to you, again, reach out to that grants email to inquire for more information. And unfortunately, only one executive and one emerging leader can participate in the Champions for Vibrant Health Leadership Network. So only one of each. And then diving a little bit deeper on populations served, for this particular opportunity, we are looking for organizations that serve Inland Empire families with children 18 years or younger from one of our priority populations below. So low-income households are those living in poverty, communities of color, communities furthest away from health equity, and we're defining those as cities or communities with a Healthy Places Index or HPI score lower than the 25th percentile. And throughout the application, as well as on the grant summary, there's a link, helpful links out to this. So there's a link out to the HPI if you're curious. And then also communities that are remote or rural. So organizations must serve families with children and at least one of those additional priority populations. Organizations do not need to be headquartered in the Inland Empire, but do need to demonstrate a significant presence serving Riverside or San Bernardino counties. And organizations don't need to serve these populations directly to be eligible. So it could be a capacity builder, it could be a coalition that supports and builds the capacity or provides training to those direct service providers. So if that applies to you, you would be eligible to apply. And diving a little bit deeper into the priority populations, I talked a little bit about how we've adopted the vital conditions framework as a whole. For this specific opportunity, we're looking for champions that address at least one of the following. So basic needs for health and safety, so that's access to health, as well as safety, so addiction, crime, things like that. Humane housing, meaningful work and wealth, and lifelong learning. Organizations can address more than one of these issues, and you can identify that multi-select question on the application. And again, please refer to the grant summary for a link for more information about the vital conditions framework. Realizing it's relatively new, we want to make sure that we share the information available about it. And then the Candid GuideStar Seal of Transparency. So for organizations to be eligible, we are requiring that organizations have a 2024 Candid GuideStar Seal of Transparency rating that's either gold or platinum. So you can obtain the seal by updating your Candid profile with demographic and financial information. So this includes things like an audit, what your program and services look like, what regions do you serve. If you've already claimed your Candid profile, it's all free of charge. If you've claimed your Candid profile, updates can be completed in a day. If no one from your team has claimed your Candid profile, it may take longer, and it could take up to 5 business days for your organization's account to be verified. So definitely recommend starting early on that, or at least starting to look at the application early on. And one of the questions we get asked is why Candid? Again, we don't want to add that extra administrative step, but we're looking to leverage Candid GuideStar as a way to decrease administrative time to complete our applications in the future. So this is a one-step thing you would update every year, but our applications, and you'll see it in the grants management portal section, there's opportunities to import information over. So in future opportunities, when you apply for the foundation, we're not going to be asking for your financial documents because it will all be available via Candid. And we also are looking at Candid as a way to enhance data available on the nonprofit landscape. So you can see on the right-hand side, Candid came out with the state of diversity in the U.S. nonprofit sector. You can drill data down regionally. So we're looking to Candid to make sure that we can get a better directory and understanding of the size and scope of the nonprofits here in the region. And so digging a little bit deeper into Candid GuideStar, it would have to be updated on an annual basis. And I've shared on the screen here just some information about what are the different types of things asked to achieve different levels. And then one thing I do want to lift up is if we're asking this of our partners, IEHP Foundation is also committed to maintaining at least the gold standard of transparency every year. So if you have more information, there's a link here in the PowerPoint presentation. There's also on the grant summary. And if you still have questions, please reach out to us and we can support with technical assistance upon request. So all that said, how are the applications being evaluated? So assuming you meet the eligibility requirements and you submit that application, what are our volunteer readers looking for? So our volunteer readers for this first round of applications will be evaluating how organizations, so at the organizational level, meet the criteria, meet a list of criteria guided by the following principles. One is equity. Is this organization prioritizing populations furthest away from health equity that are also in alignment with our target populations and priorities? Two, collaboration. So is this organization leveraging stakeholders and community partner support? Are they engaging in advocacy currently? Do they look forward and realize the importance of advocacy work at the different levels, individual, organization, community, and systems level? Third is we're really looking for organizations that also center learning in their work. So we're evaluating and looking for organizations with practices that value data-driven decision-making, outcomes evaluation, and adapting strategy based on continual learning. And then we're also guided by the principle of trust. So demonstrating fiscal responsibility in addition to a commitment and success as trusted messengers to families with children in the Inland Empire. Consideration will also be given to ensure that our leadership collective is representative and diverse in terms of size, reach, and regional representation. So again, this first round of application is going to focus on the organizational capacity to align with these following principles. And in round two, we'll be looking more at the specific leaders chosen. So talked about eligibility, talked about the evaluation measures that we're using. Now to get a little technical, so this is where my tech geek gets really excited, but it's how to apply, how to navigate that grants portal. So real quick, just backing up one level, I'm going to go through how to navigate the portal. You can always email our team to ask questions, but I do really also want to encourage that our grants management platform, we use Foundant Grants Lifecycle Management or Foundant GLM, you'll hear it referred to. They have a great support hub that offers a library of tutorials and resources. So if you're working on the application and you want an immediate answer, really recommend that you use that library. So there's a link here. As you search for tutorials and information, do really recommend that you use the word applicant as a keyword in searching for these tutorials and support. Being a grant manager, I use it on the opposite end as well. So it's one library for all. So definitely make sure you use the word applicant as you search. And then again, those specific helpful tutorials are also linked throughout the application process. So as I mentioned, we use Foundant Grants Lifecycle Management, or GLM, to manage all our grants and funding opportunities. So to access this portal, it's linked on the grant summary, but we also have a button that's forever on our website at the top right-hand corner. It's going to be the orange grantee portal button that you can click on and be taken directly to the grants management portal. In terms of what you'll be asked when you do log in, each organization will require one profile in our grants management portal. So I do want to lift up a couple of questions we've gotten asked. So if another funder for your organization uses the same platform, you'll still need to create an organizational profile in our specific grants management portal because the profiles cannot be shared between funders. And I do want to lift up, if your organization has received funding from us before, your organization already has a profile. So I ask that you don't create a new one, if I do see that a new one's created, you might get an email from me just asking to merge the information. I do want to lift up, each organization should only submit one application for this opportunity. So as I shared before, collaboration is really important to us, as is communication. So want to make sure that you're communicating with your team members. So organizations that submit more than one application will not be considered for this opportunity. And just to let you know, the list is pretty light for organization information needed to set up the profile. So that information needed is going to be name of organization, EIN, address, email, phone, and a primary contact for this grant. And if you do need any updates to your organization profile after you've created it, you will have to email the grants management portal to get that updated. So if you realize that you put a typo in when creating it, just email me and we'll make sure to get it updated. In addition to the organization profile, there will be a need for an individual or user profile. So each individual logging into the system from your team should have their own unique user profile. IEHP Foundation really encourages and recommends that users do not share logins, especially when it comes to signing some documents within the system. Individuals that represent multiple organizations can have one login. So if I do have a grant writer on this call that you're representing multiple organizations that want to apply for this grant, you can keep it all within one profile, and there's a great tutorial on that in the library. An individual contact information that's going to be needed to set up an account includes name, job title, address, and this is your official organization address or place of work. Do not use your personal address. So if you are a fully remote employee and your organization is fully remote as well, use the mailing address. So that might be a PO box, your email, phone number, and a password. Again, each organization will need at least one primary contact identified. So this is the contact that will be the one who will be notified of status updates for the organization's application. So it's really important that you make sure to select someone that is constantly checking their email for that status update. I do want to lift up, again, on that note of collaboration, that multiple individuals can be assigned and invited to work on the application. So there's a great tutorial on how you can collaborate with folks on your team or across different departments on this application. And so the link is there. Again, to lift up, communication is going to be really important because prior versions of the application cannot be recovered. So if you're working on it simultaneously, or someone works on something and maybe deletes it and saves over, unfortunately, we can't retrieve that previous version. So definitely did just want to lift that up. And then as I shared before, after you create those profiles, you're going to be taken to an eligibility quiz. And so there'll be a short set of questions. Again, should take no more than 5, max 10 minutes to complete. Again, that intention is to save organizations time if they don't qualify. And if your organization does not currently meet the Candid GuideStar requirement, but could, so you're looking to update that profile, it's recommended that you close out of the eligibility quiz and return once it's gold or platinum. I will say, if you believe and you know for sure that your organization is capable of reaching that gold and platinum status, and you feel comfortable starting the application, knowing that you'll reach that status, go ahead and mark either gold or platinum for that. And as long as that gold and platinum is reached before you submit your application, then you'll still be eligible. So do just lift that up if you know for sure that your organization can achieve that, just to make sure if you want to start the application early, you can. For questions about maybe why your organization was marked ineligible, or to reopen the eligibility quiz, maybe you marked a question incorrect, email grants@iehpfoundation.org. And then if you do pass the eligibility quiz successfully, you'll be given an access code that will unlock the full application. So application, our LOI, again, we recognize that this is a full application. We just have some limitations in the grants management system. So you're going to see the word LOI. Know that for us, that means first round application. If you see the word request, again, that's a systems term. For us, that means an application. So anytime you receive funding from IEHP, it's going to be a different request. Just want to also lift up to make sure to save the application periodically to not lose data. So again, even though it's a smart system, it's not as smart as we want it to be. So make sure that you're saving along the way and your work is captured. You can preview all questions from the grants management portal if you want to see what questions you'll need to answer to divide and conquer. And so there'll be a question, that's the upper right-hand arrow question list you can click on. It's a PDF and you can download. We also included it here on the screen as well, that you can also download. And then you'll notice throughout the application that there, on some questions, there's a little C in a yellow box. And for those, that means the information can be imported from a candidate profile. You can go ahead and directly input that information over, and there's a great tutorial from found in that. High level, the different application sections for this round one application. First one is general instructions. So it's a little lengthy, and I recommend you thoroughly read that. There'll be the next section of organization demographics and program details. We'll also ask for financial details, including in the other section if you'd like. We will ask a couple questions about their board. There's a couple questions about the executive leader and the holding leader. And then we'll also have three what we're deeming as assessment sections that are principal aligned. And then there's also optional sections. So the first optional section is the additional information, and you see a screenshot here to the right. And this is really a catch-all question. So if there's something you think we need to know about your organization, we recognize that there's nuanced situations that may not have been captured in the questions before. This is your opportunity to let us know. So think through what you think it would be important for us to know. The second section that's optional is our process feedback questions. This section should take about 5 minutes. So complete all those, that screenshot on the right-hand side. List out all the questions in that section. As I shared before, we're a learning organization. We always want to know how we can improve upon what we're doing. And so you'll see the process feedback questions there, asking following it to complete the application, how you heard about the grant opportunity, and then any other comments you want to share about the application process. So this is more the logistic of the application. And then a couple of important notes to lift up. We really do encourage folks to apply early to allow sufficient response time for any questions. Again, as I lifted up, that emailing of the grants email may take up to 3 business days to respond. And I do want to acknowledge that the IEHP Foundation operates from an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday schedule. So again, allowing sufficient response time for those questions to be answered, considering how long the updates to candidate may take, and any technology concerns. I do want to highlight that late applications will not be accepted. In terms of status updates, email communications will be sent from the grants management portal. So wanted to list the email address that will come from the grants management portal to make sure that you can mark that safe in your inbox, so you can make sure to receive those notifications directly. At any point throughout the application process, you can also log into your grants management portal and see what your current application status is. You may also, if there's a particular question or a nuanced question, you may also receive an email directly from the grants at IEHP Foundation email. So definitely want to lift that up. How do you know if you've successfully submitted your application? So your application is considered successful only if you receive a confirmation email, and that confirmation email is coming from the administrator at email above. Really encourage everyone to follow instructions and read all instructions carefully and thoroughly. We don't want anyone to be disqualified or ineligible because they failed to adhere to the instructions. And then we really want to encourage you to reach out. So again, we recognize that each organization has unique and nuanced experiences. So if that applies to you or you have a question, email that grants email, again, allowing up to 3 business days for a response. And then we really want to encourage folks to be honest. So we really value honesty and transparency. So this opportunity is intended to be responsive to the opportunities and challenges being faced by inland empire nonprofits, and it can only be responsive through honest communication two-way. So we really encourage folks to be honest. And on that note, a lot of information we covered. So with the remaining time, I will open it up. If you do have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. And I will actually be addressing those questions live over the next few minutes. So if you need to log off, totally understand. A copy of whatever questions are asked and the responses provided will be sent via email and uploaded to the website. So we'll go ahead and I will actually display the questions as we're going through. Dolores is asking, do both executive and emerging leader attend all activities and events at the same time, or are there alternate dates? So that is a great question. So as I shared earlier, this is going to be a responsive, very iteratively designed process. So there may be some activities and events that occur at the same time, and there may be some that occur at different times are staggered, realizing that the executive leader's needs and the emerging leader's needs may not be the same. So that's a great question. And if there's any concerns about that, either include that in on your application or shoot me over an email at the grants portal. And then Eddie Torres, can we qualify if we meet gold or platinum status by the time the funds are distributed? It's a great question. So we are putting the cutoff date as the July 15th round one application deadline. So you do have to be gold or platinum by the time of round one application deadline. But great question. All right, so Corinne asked a great question. We do not have an executive director, but 2 directors that are running our foundation. How would that work? So we leave it to the organization. You know your organization best. We don't have all the insider scoop on what each staff member does or the contributions to the team. So we would look to the organization to identify that. So that organization may just pick one of the 2 directors to serve as the executive and the other to serve as the emerging, or only one of those will be the executive and a different staff member. So really, it's up to the organization to decide. But that's a great question. So Eddie, we're 501c3. We've had this status for 3 years, but we were fiscally sponsored for over 10. Would we be eligible? Yeah, if you had your EIN number for over 3 years, you would meet that requirement right on. But if it's been less, but you've been fiscally sponsored for 10 years, I do ask that if that's anyone's situation and you do email the grants email to save some time on back and forth responses, just include as much information as you can in that first email. So inclusive of, at the very least, your name, your organization's name, an EIN number, and any information that would be helpful to make that eligibility call. So if you were fiscally sponsored, including the name of your fiscal agency and that information. Giovanni, high-level manager can't be the first category. Great question. So for us, we are looking for the executive leader as more of a first or second level in command. So if that's a high-level manager at your organization, then that's a high-level manager at your organization. But we're looking at a first or second in command to meet the executive leader eligibility requirement. Awesome. Denise, so our organization has multiple programs. One of them, a very strong focus on working with families. The other 2 include families, but are not mainly focused on them. Does that meet your eligibility requirement? That's a great question. So what we're looking for when we're evaluating target populations or priority populations, we're looking for organizations that have a strong reach and impact on those families. And so if you feel that that one program that your organization offers has a strong reach, has a strong scope, go ahead and apply. We're not asking that 100% of your work be on families with children under 18, but especially when crafting that advocacy narrative and the collective narrative, we are looking for a good chunk of your work focusing on that priority population. But more importantly, we're looking at the reach, scope, and depth of the impact your organization has on those families with children from those priority populations. That's a great question. So Joanna, our GuideStar is not up to date. Can we still apply while we get that information? You can. Again, I do just want to caution, if you feel confident that your organization will reach that gold or platinum status before the round 1 application deadline, so that's July 15th, go ahead and complete the application. I would recommend that before hitting submit, you make sure that that candidate and GuideStar profile is up to date. So you can go ahead and complete the application, all but hitting submit. You will need to make sure that the goal and has been reached before you. Well, great question. Appreciate you all. Giovanni, so the guidance may only take a few days. It depends where your organization is in that process. So if you have specific information, there is a link on the candidate guide, so if you have a little bit more information, but also feel free to email that Frank at IEHP email. And I can provide a little bit more of a nuanced response and to do a like organization. And I love you. give an idea of the how long. Any other questions? We have about 10 minutes. I'll give it until 3:50, and then if we don't receive any more questions, I'll go ahead and close the webinar. Again, I just want to lift up, it's okay if this doesn't meet your organization's mission. We want to make sure it's the right fit on both sides of the house, so don't feel like you need to stretch into it. We will have other opportunities in the future with different eligibility requirements. Thank you, Margaret. And again, I do want to lift up, in case any of you haven't dialed into GuideStar. If you do have any questions or are looking for technical assistance, please email that grants at email so we can assist you on that. Promise it seems a lot scarier than it is. So again, if any of you are noodling on a question or answer, we will be sharing a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. Any of the questions asked and the responses provided, will remove any of identifying information on those, share that out with the group at large, and that will be uploaded to our website within the next 3 business days. Thanks to that. Yeah, so Shamina, so the round 1 application deadline is going to be Monday, July 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So Monday, July 15th. And again, lifting up our business hours of operation, it's going to be the Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it looks like no other questions are coming through. Again, we can be reached at that grants at email. But on that note, I really appreciate everyone for joining, and I look forward to seeing your applications. Thank you.